Good evening, and the breaking news of the day is that Peter Mandelson has been arrested. Mandelson was seen being led away by police officers this afternoon. The Met Police confirmed they'd nicked him, saying officers have arrested a 72-year-old man on suspicion of misconduct in public office. He was arrested at an address in Camden on Monday, the 23rd of February, and has been taken to a London police station for interview. This follows search warrants of 2 addresses in the Wiltshire and Camden areas. Well, let's have a little look, shall we, at how we got here. Mandelson was the man behind New Labour. He was their Director of Communications between 1985 and 1990. In 1994, he famously backed Tony Blair over Gordon Brown for the leadership. They won a landslide in 1997, and he became a minister without portfolio, which basically is a bit of a fixer role. In 1998, Mandelson became Trade Secretary. He then resigned after failing to declare a £373,000 secret home loan from millionaire ministerial colleague Geoffrey Robinson. In 2001, he became Northern Ireland Secretary. He resigned following accusations that he used his position to influence a passport application for SP Hinduja, a billionaire donor to the Millennium Dome. A report later found there was no evidence of any improper relationship between Peter Mandelson and Mr. Hinduja. Mandelson then served as European Commissioner for Trade between 2004 and 2008, before making a shock comeback through gritted teeth to Gordon Brown's Labour government. Brown appointed Mandelson as Business Secretary and elevated him to the House of Lords. And it was during this time, according to newly released documents in the Epstein files, that Mandelson is alleged to have passed on information to Epstein. Sir Keir Starmer, though, decided to resurrect the so-called Prince of Darkness by making him US ambassador.
I can feel there's a real buzz around Washington right now. You can sense that there's a new leader in town, that he's a true one-off, a pioneer in business and in politics. Many people love him. Others love to hate him. But to us, he's just Peter.
Yeah, there was a real buzz around Washington at the time, wasn't there, from old Brian Badonde there? But the Labour cabinet went into bat for him, didn't they? Including mastermind himself, David Lammy.
Peter Mandelson is a man of considerable expertise. He's the right man for this moment to be our ambassador.
Look, I suppose that's what you get from a bloke who thought Henry VII succeeded Henry VIII to the English throne. But then information emerged that Mandelson had maintained a close friendship with the world's most notorious paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein. Starmer initially backed him and then sacked him. Mandelson was then pictured urinating in the street after a night at George Osborne's house. But then there were more emails from the Epstein files released, and this culminated in police searching his homes. And today we get the breaking news that he is now under arrest. He hasn't been charged with anything, and everyone is, of course, innocent until proven guilty. But the focus surely also has to be on Sir Keir Starmer. It is yet another catastrophic appointment from Mr. Forensic. How much more of this stuff can the British public be expected to take? There's nothing more important than keeping your money and your identity safe online. And with so many VPN options available, choosing the right one can be pretty daunting. But this video's sponsor, ExpressVPN, is making the choice easier for GB News viewers. ExpressVPN is offering up to 75% off, plus 4 extra months free. That's top-level security from just £2.49 a month, and you're covered by their 30-day money-back guarantee. So just click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code now. Remember, when you're online, you are often sharing personal data, so hackers can steal your information, your passwords, your photos, and your bank details in just seconds. But ExpressVPN encrypts your connection, making it virtually impossible for hackers to access your personal information. So why choose ExpressVPN? Well, it couldn't be easier to use. With just one click, you are protected. And ExpressVPN uses military-grade AES 256 encryption, which is the same standard trusted by the US government to guard their classified information. With their new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely. Live chat support is available 24/7, and it typically connects you in under a minute with a real person. Click the link in this video's description or scan the QR code to get up to 75% off ExpressVPN, plus 4 months extra for free. Start protecting yourself today with ExpressVPN. Let's get the thoughts of my panel this evening. We are, of course, joined by the Daily Express's Carol Malone. We've got Reform's Jamie McIver and Labour councillor Sebastian Salek. So, Carol, pretty big day news-wise. Is it Mandelson's arrested?
Yeah, I mean, we all knew it was coming. We knew that after Prince Andrew had been arrested, he was going to be too, and they would have to do it quick, and they have. It was interesting today, Kemi Badenoch, because you mentioned Starmer there. It's interesting, Kemi Badenoch said that his arrest is the defining moment of Starmer's premiership, which is absolutely true, because she reminded us all that it was just a few months ago that Starmer had said he had full confidence in Mandelson and that he backed him totally. But then this story would not have been as potent, the Mandelson story would not have been as potent as it is if Starmer hadn't given him the Plum Washington job. And it would have been even less potent if we hadn't found out that he gave him that job knowing the extent of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. So this you're right. I'm sure that Starmer will be cowering in a corner for the next 2 or 3 days, not wanting to answer questions about this. But I'm afraid both he and Peter Mandelson are going to have to answer a lot of questions over the next couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously, we'll see what happens with Mandelson. He's not been charged with anything, like I've said, and everyone is innocent until proven guilty. But, to Carol's point there, and indeed mine, Jamie, it does cut to the core of Starmer's judgment, I think.
Yeah, I think Keir Starmer, in fact, I think this Labour government will be remembered for just bad decision after bad decision. And I think Keir Starmer has got terrible judgment. We can see that from the host of ministers that have had to resign, albeit quite strangely linked to their own portfolios. But also, I think Keir Starmer's victory at the ballot box wasn't because he was popular with the people at all. It was because people were sick and tired of politicians in it for themselves, in it for their own personal interests. What can they do to get themselves a ministerial briefcase? As that means agreeing with that policy, then so be it. We've had a whole decade of, backboneless politicians with no conviction letting the public down. And Keir Starmer said he'd promised change. Well, he's made it worse. The public faith in politicians and our institutions is now at an all-time low. And it's decisions like the appointment of Mandelson, which, before all of this recent carnage, he was a bad appointment from the get-go. We all knew what Mandelson was like as a politician. So Keir Starmer's judgment, once again, I think it was actually an appointment made to please the champagne socialists at North London drinks parties, as opposed to being a serious diplomatic appointment for the country in the national interest.
I mean, Starmer has to carry the can for this being as catastrophic as it is, Sebastian, surely. I mean, he is the man who resurrected the Prince of Darkness.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're the Prime Minister, then the buck stops with you, doesn't it? That said, it would be unfair to claim that he knew everything. Certainly so much came out, so much horrible stuff. The reason he's being arrested today came out after that announcement was made. And we know, because the Prime Minister said this, that if he'd known that at the time, then obviously he wouldn't have been appointed. It would have been completely mindless to do that.
He still appointed him, knowing the extent of his friendship with Epstein and knowing that he had seen
Well, no, because remember,
Epstein.
more came out since. That was when he was fired, was when the extent of that relationship came out.
No, he admitted that he knew that in the Commons, when under question from Kemi Badenoch. He admitted that he knew.
He admitted that he knew that there was a friendship, not the full extent of it. That's an important detail there. But remember, and look, I don't want to be defending Mandelson. I'm glad he's left the Labour Party. I'm glad that he is now facing justice for what he's alleged to have done. But we have to remember, and we can't let revisionist history take over here, the general opinion of him in Washington was pretty good. They needed a politician to come in and be able to deal with Trump. And in the time that he had as ambassador, he was seen to have done a pretty good job. So on that basis,
but don't you think, Seb, that
it was a sensible thing to do.
Don't you think he was appointed by... One of the reasons Starmer wanted to appoint him is because he wanted Mandelson to build bridges between himself, Starmer and Trump.
Of course.
Because his relationship wasn't very good with him.
Well, because Trump is very unpredictable. You need a good politician to go in and build those relationships. And remember also that Starmer wanted Osborne, according to the New Statesman originally, so it wasn't that Starmer was pushing for this appointment the whole time. He had his mind changed by those around him.
But it was the decision, wasn't it, to appoint him that snowballed this government into a crisis, which isn't over yet and will actually take more heads before it's over.
I think it's a question as well of weeks. I mean, I've lost track of the amount of times that Sir Keir Starmer has claimed to either not know something, have not been informed of something, or something never crossed his desk. And that dates right back to when he was at DPP, right? So, I mean, you know, there's only so much that we can expect this bloke not to believe. I mean, in a rare moment of agreement with Stephen Flynn, actually, he said he had to be the most gullible Director of Public Prosecutions the country has ever seen. And, you know, he said that David Lammy would have his role as Foreign Secretary until the end of his government. Well, he scrapped that pretty quickly, didn't he? Then you've had the likes of Tulip Siddiq, who denies any wrongdoing, by the way, but has been found guilty of corruption in Bangladesh. Louise Haigh, of course, had to go as well. The Homelessness Minister went. Angela Rayner. You know, the back catalogue of people here who've had to be moved aside. These were people that ultimately were appointed by our Prime Minister. And my concern, Jamie, is that he's spending all his time trying to deal with these crises and not actually dealing with the running of the country.
Well, the country isn't being run properly. We can see that. We can see that with our justice system. We can see that with the way that our roads look. We can see that with the way in which crime is out of control. We can see the country's not being run properly, albeit much of that was a legacy that this government inherited from the previous government. But this government, and the difference between this one and the previous one, is they had years in opposition to prepare for office. They either didn't prepare anything for office, or everything that was prepared has been canned because it's either completely out of touch with reality, or this is a Prime Minister that isn't able to govern the country properly. He has a parliament full of Labour MPs. He can't get anything through the House of Commons that's meaningful, apart from the one policy.
That's not true.
Apart from
There's
one
legislation
policy.
go through every week. There was one that he couldn't get through.
Nothing that really matters to the British people.
Employment rights, renters' rights, breakfast clubs.
Sorry, let's rename that. Destroying businesses, breakfast clubs.
We can disagree over whether we think they're good or not, but we can agree that they're meaningful and they're going through Parliament.
It's not meaningful to the British people.
Of course
and that
they are.
place is meant to represent the British people. It's making life worse for people.
Workers' rights in a generation has passed.
You're making life worse for people. That place is meant to represent people. This is a Prime Minister's
Your point, Jamie, was that he wasn't getting anything through, and I'm telling you that is factually wrong.
Nothing meaningful for the nation is getting through Parliament.
It is the biggest transformation of workers' rights in a generation.
Workers' rights. What has happened? What have they done with employment in this country? The figure's now are 5.2%. It's gone up more than 1% since Labour was in power. We have one of the biggest employment crises in the last 5 or 6 years, thanks to his government's ridiculous policies. You can't deny that. So on the one hand, he's giving workers' rights, but people are losing their jobs every day. Tens of thousands are losing their jobs every day.
I mean, the graduate jobs thing, which we were talking about, is absolutely catastrophic. I mean, they've reduced by about 45% since January, and now the best and brightest are leaving Britain. They're going to go elsewhere to get jobs. I mean, they are laying that squarely at the door of the decisions that Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer have made.
Well, I mean, that's one contributing factor you might argue. I'd say that there are many more.
It's a pretty big one.
Well, have we talked about AI at all? No, we haven't. It's going to change all of our lives as we know it. It's going to transform the job market.
Exactly.
And it's a big reason why large employers are stopping hiring. It's not going to reduce the
welfare bill.
But the point is, why are we talking about stopping the boats? We're talking about graduate recruitment.
Because you brought in AI.
Stop changing the subject. Stop changing
You brought in AI.
Yes,
we're not talking about AI.
Carol, the reason I brought AI was because I was asked a question about graduate recruitment. And what I'm saying is that large businesses are stopping hiring, particularly junior roles, because they know that AI is going to be able to do those things it already is. And by overlooking that, you erode any kind of credibility you have, because you're trying to put this at the door of a Labour government.
1.3 million young people aged between 16 and 24 who are claiming benefits in this country thanks to mental health and anxiety issues. That's your government's done that. They've allowed that to happen.
All right, look, we've got a bit
of a tangent.
We've got, just to drag it back to the final point on the Mandelson thing. I mean, look, regardless of what happens here, at its core, you do have the fact that Keir Starmer knew that Peter Mandelson had maintained some kind of friendship with the world's most notorious paedophile, and then made him US ambassador. Then we've got these scenes, these dramatic footage of Mandelson being arrested today. I mean, I can't think of a sleazier government in history.
You know, what do you think? You know, I was watching Mandelson being led into that car today. You know, what a contrast between his life over the past 10 or 15 years to now, where he's been taken out of his house by 5 detectives and taken for questioning. His life is never going to be, whatever happens to him, his life is never going to be the same again. His company was closed down last week, the lobbying company that he ran, which had a turnover of 21 million quid a year. No one wants to talk to the guy anymore. Whatever he did before in government, for government, the man who was supposed to be the saviour of the Labour government, that life is over for him now, whatever happens.
I think the best legacy of this government will be that the British people will never, ever trust the Labour government again. We'll never have a rotten socialist government ever again.
Right, we'll see what that brings, I suppose. But Lord Mandelson has not responded to previous repeated requests for comments from us here at GB News. But we do understand that prior to his arrest, his position was that he has not acted criminally and did not act for personal gain. Now, we'll stress again that whilst Peter Mandelson has been brought in for questioning today, he's not been charged with anything. He's certainly not been found guilty of anything. So we'll have to leave that there.